It's time to chat cricket. It's time for more cricketing action, this time behind closed doors. Doesn't make too much of a difference to us. We are still going to have lots and lots of fun, try and get lots of insights to you here on Cricbuzz Live. But yes, there will be a bit of a change as far as the players are concerned in terms of what they see around them, as well as what they see below on the 22-yard strip. This is T20 International number 3 with the series beautifully poised at 1-all. Just before I go to my guests in the studio, quick reminder that this time it's Owen Morgan in his 100th T20 International who's won the toss and expectedly invited India to bat first. Joining me, Zaheer Khan and Michael Vaughan. Michael, I'll come straight to you. And at the very top, quick word on Owen Morgan. Good day to win a toss, but it's a great landmark, 100 T20 Internationals.
Yeah, I mean, he's been terrific for England over the last few years. He's been really the reason why the white ball team has gone on to win the World Cup and obviously reached the final of the last T20 World Cup. And you have them, like many, as favourites, if not in the top two to win the T20 World Cup this time round. He really has put England in a direction in white ball cricket that's right up there with the best in the world. He's England's greatest ever white ball captain. After the World Cup win in 2019, there was whispers that he might step down. Delighted that he carried on. He should have, enough in his tank to be able to get through to the next 2 or 3 years and particularly get through to that next 50 over World Cup. And I hope he can do. I hope his fitness levels can stay strong. I hope his form, which has been great in the last year, can stay as good as we've seen. He's an outstanding leader and a great captain. So great that he's got to 100. I'm not sure he'll play another 100 T20s, but he may play another 30 or 40.
Zaheer, before we go to India team news, I think it's only fitting that you pay your own little tribute to Owen Morgan. You've seen him in various capacities, including even in the T10 format.
Yes. I happen to share the dressing room with him, and he's someone who's very assured. Michael is rightly saying that white ball captain. As far as England team is concerned, the whole revival of English cricket in white ball cricket, I think a lot of credit has to go to Owen Morgan as well. He absorbs that pressure in the field. He adapts to different conditions. He sort of gives me a feeling that someone who is very honest in communication with individuals, very realistic. And I think that's really important. When you set your expectations also as a captain, you got to be realistic. At times you expect too much and can cause problems in keeping the team inspired and motivated. So I think he's got all the good qualities of a good leader, and I'm glad he's continuing. I think he'll develop these 100 T20s for sure. Because the T20 format is very quick. The games happen very quick, and the series numbers are going higher and higher. So I think, you will see him doubling up this number as well.
Well, he's given Morgan a few more than Michael Vaughan gave him, but we shall see where he finishes up. Quickly on to team news. We said India will be batting first after losing the toss. The big one. The big question was, how would Rohit Sharma come into the side? And we sort of felt that, unfortunately, Surya Kumar would have to make way, even though he didn't get an outing last time around. Zaheer, first reaction to that? The only way that Rohit could have come in.
Well, that was my thought after the previous match. When you asked me that question, I was I'm not going to change my opinion on that, because when you're looking at a team, you also look at continuity. You look at someone who has been consistently doing the job for you. So just because of a couple of innings, you wouldn't want to send that kind of message also to others. So it's a right call with that regard. Surya got his cap, have to wait his opportunity and wait his chance to go out there and do his magic with the bat. But at the moment, it's a good call. We'll have to see who bats at number 3, whether Rohit and KL opens or Ishan and Rohit. There are permutation combinations around that, which we'll have to wait a few more minutes to see that. But I think as a playing 11 call, Indian team made the right call.
Yeah, I think the indication was at the toss, Michael, Virat probably hinting that the young, explosive Ishan Kishan would come in at number 3. So he'd allow Rohit to go straight into his preferred slot and give Rahul another opportunity to do what he does best at the top.
I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be moving the young left-hander at all. I mean, he was outstanding. You just say to KL Rahul, I'm sorry, but you've got to nip into the middle now. You know, Virat must stay at number 3. You want your best players to face as many balls as possible. And in Ishan Kishan, you surely don't move a player that's just lit up the stage in his first attempt. Throw him out again with his Mumbai Indian teammate Rohit Sharma. You say to KL Rahul, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to bat in the middle. He's done that before in all formats of the game. He's a wonderful player, so he can adapt. But I wouldn't be changing the young fella. He's got to go at the top of the order.
We'll see if Virat sticks to his plan. Zaheer, your quick opinion on that. As we said, we asked you a lot about Ishan Kishan, the character in the previous game. Now he's had a day to think about his innings. Is he the kind of character who'll say, look, if I've been asked to go at number 3, I won't change my game, but I'll adapt?
Well, I think you have to think experience here. You know, who is better suited right now to adapt, and I think that's where you put the responsibility on your experienced players. The youngster has just played the first game and had innings which was so fantastic. So you would want to continue with him. You know, you wouldn't want him to adapt again. So I would actually go in with Ishan Kishan to open the innings. And then figure out the other spot. In this case, has to be Rohit. You know, the guy has been so consistent, has scored what you're mentioning, some 4 T20 hundreds as well. So you know that settles that argument there. And then figure out whether Virat wants to bat at number 4 or what is the ideal suited number for KL Rahul in this case. Looks like Virat did mention at the toss. We might see either KL batting at number 3 or Ishan Kishan batting at number 3.
Well, it's most likely going to be Rahul and Rohit, but we'll wait for them to walk out because it's, no matter what he says at the toss, he has no commitment to doing that until the players walk in there. But Michael, from your side, from England's point of view, it's been musical chairs between Tom Curran and Mark Wood. Wood comes right back in, but a little surprise. We were thinking red soil, Moeen Ali, but they're going with that solitary spinner. And no Joe Root for backup.
No, I mean, they've gone with the team that won that first game so well, and they're doing what they did in the first game, bowling first. I just go back a few weeks, and you're looking at Moeen Ali. He's not played any of these T20s. It makes a mockery of Moeen Ali playing that one test match to go home to rest for the T20s and the one-day series, and he's not played a game. He'd have played 2 test matches. He'd have played the 3rd and 4th test match on the back of coming into the test team for the first time for a long time. Did okay in that 2nd test, got a few wickets. It just makes a mockery of this rotation when you've got a player that should have played the last 2 test matches. He went home, he's now gone back to playing the T20s and he's not played a game yet. So, look, they're reading the conditions. This is the formation that England are going with. I think by winning the toss, it's the right thing to do in terms of going with pace. But I just think it's making a mockery of that test selection even more so now that Moeen's not even played a game yet.
Yep. Well, I think from India's point of view, the really good news is the big difference from that first T20 international that England won so convincingly is the 2 personnel changes. One, of course, Ishan Kishan came in the 2nd game, exploded, and then Rohit Sharma coming back. So Zaheer, really looking at the arrival of some of these youngsters, I think Ishan Kishan is the first of many who have really lit up the stage coming in from what's obviously a good system in place.
Obviously, yes. I mean, the credit has to go to how the infrastructure of cricket has evolved in India. I've always been mentioning that fact that the National Cricket Academy came into existence around 2000 or 99, if I'm not mistaken, and then from there on, IPL started around 2008. That again gave a platform for youngsters to rub the shoulders with the experienced player, international players. Gave them that opportunity to learn more, and then the shadow tours. The shadow tours also roughly started around that time. Where the India A team started touring with the Indian team to the same nation, and that kind of added that widened that exposure to the youngsters to adapt to different conditions, and experiences is something which cannot be bought over a counter. So you have to actually go and earn that, and the opportunities were there for everyone to make use of, and that's the result of that is seen now with the youngsters coming on the big scene, looking more and more prepared, looking fully ready when they're there, and a lot of credit has to go through and through to the wide range of people and people who actually put this infrastructure together.
Fair enough. I mean, from the outside, obviously, Michael, you'd be seeing your own, the England Lions and the other structure that you have there. But just staying with the Indian structure, it's not something we necessarily did many, many years ago. But ever since it started, and we're talking about a similar thing happening for India's tour of England this summer, it's made a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think A-trips are so important. The IPL is massive for Indian cricket, for all these younger players to be exposed to the pressure, to mix it with the best in dressing rooms, the best coaching, the best minds. So that's going to take your game to a great level before you've even played for your national team. I just think younger players are prepared so well these days. I think the coaching, the pathway programs, I think they're exposed to quicker bowling sooner. I think they're exposed to pressure sooner. I think the training programs now that coaches put in place are more geared towards performance out in the middle rather than just hitting balls. I go and study a lot of young players that are practicing in the UK through the county systems, and I just look at the coaching systems and what they're asking the players to do. And that's down to their skill sets, to their nutrition, to their fitness. It's just a more professional world that cricket has become. So it doesn't surprise me at all that a young player goes out into an international arena in front of many, and they just look like they belong. All the psychologists around the group these days that talk to these younger players, the ex-players, pass on all their information. So these players suddenly arrive and they look like they belong straight away. You do find, though, that a lot of young players have this kickstart. A lot of England young players have had the kickstart, and then all of a sudden it plateaus out and it flattens out. And it's, can you go again and get that kind of lift in your performance levels, having had 2 or 3 failures when, you've suddenly been questioned by the media, and ex-players like myself question whether you've got the game to be able to cope with it. But you see so many young players that hit the scene and hit the international game running. And that's why you look at India and what they did in Australia with pretty much a second string team. That's a remarkable Test series victory. I said it at the time. I don't think in my lifetime I've seen a better Test series victory away from home than the one that India produced in Australia.
Again, it's all about the preparation. I mean, we can allude to someone like even Ian Chappell, who maybe made a comparison between, say, a Rishabh Pant and a Dom Bess. Both have promise, but just the preparation or lack of maybe for someone like a Dom Bess, Zaheer. There were times when, you could see him chucking out those full tosses, and it was not just those, but there was something that X factor that seemed to be missing.
Michael used that analogy where he was mentioning about exposure to pressure scenarios and situation. I think that's something which is very important. If you're exposed to handling pressure early in your careers, then you are better prepared. And I think that's something which the comparison what you're making with the Aussie tour and the youngsters delivering there, and someone like Rishabh Pant able to absorb that pressure and perform at the highest level. I think those are the important component. What is getting you ready to be performing at the highest level. So that is something which is very heartening to see. As we are saying all the time that cricket is getting more and more professional. The exposure and the access to knowledge is also improving. So these are the factors which actually contributing to immensely to the success of Indian cricket. What you're seeing right now.
And also, can I just add? I mean, I really do think that when I was playing and back in the day, the senior players in the team, I don't think they realised what they were doing, but they sometimes would talk international cricket up so much that you as a younger player thought, oh, wow, it must be so difficult, because the senior pros are talking that playing Test cricket's hard, facing quick bowling's hard. And I think that mindset changed, particularly in England around early 2000s, that the language that the senior pros in the dressing room use is so important for the younger players. That if you're using a language that is it's exciting to play international cricket. You've got to enjoy it. You've got to attack it. They're the kind of words that I want to see the senior pros pass on to the younger players. So when they go out in the middle, they've not got a load of fear. There's enough fear in your own mind as it is without a few senior pros, cynical old senior pros saying, oh, you've got to wait. You'll be up against Alan Donald, he bowls 95 miles an hour. You might not see it and you go, oh, okay. But these days, I think all those kind of negative, little cynical comments that senior pros may have made in the past, they've all gone, and it's a lot more positive. And it's basically a platform now that you bring a young player into the dressing room, you talk really positively about them, because, I don't know of any international team that would bring an international player into the setup without them being ready. They pick younger players now because they're ready to perform, and that's why you're seeing the likes of Ishan Kishan. They go out there, and it's annoying as an ex-pro and an ex-old pro. You look at these youngsters and they're smacking sixes inside the first few balls. And how can you do that? You shouldn't be able to do that. That's far too good. You're making it look far too easy. But I do think it's the culture around most dressing rooms these days which allows the younger players to go out there and expose themselves.
Well, I'll stay with you, Michael, because talking of youngsters, talking of exposure, innovations, the one unexpected innovation we saw in that first T20 international was Owen Morgan throwing the ball to Adil Rashid. Now, yes, there is no Moeen Ali. Adil Rashid still very much a part of this setup. First and foremost, do you think Morgan might go to him again?
Yeah, he may do. He may do. I guess if Ishan Kishan's walking out there, he won't. I think if it's two right-handers, he will. Adil Rashid's been tremendous for England. I mean, I mentioned Owen Morgan being the reason why the white ball team has been so good. I always remember back when Trevor Bayliss got the England coaching role, straight away picked Adil Rashid. He wanted a spinner that could spin the ball either way. It was irrelevant at the time of how consistent he was, but that consistency over time came with Adil Rashid, and he's a wonderful 50-over bowler, T20 bowler. It staggers me that he doesn't get an IPL contract. I honestly put him up there with Rashid Khan of being that good. He's just not been exposed to the amount of T20 leagues around the world like Rashid Khan. But I certainly think that Adil Rashid is a match. He doesn't hit it as hard and as far as Rashid Khan, because Rashid Khan's dangerous with the bat as well. But it surprises me that he doesn't get an IPL contract, I have to say.
Yep. Zaheer, quick one. What do you think might be the reason for that? I mean, do you think maybe he should be plying his wares much more in some of the other leagues and then use that as in his portfolio?
Well, I think these things are very, very hard to explain. So there is when you look at the auction dynamics also, there are many things which will actually are something which you cannot really get your head around. So in terms of numbers, Adil Rashid's number are right up there, and then you've seen that there are certain commodities as we call it, with certain disciplines are usually in demand. So you look at the stack up of the most of the teams. If you have the Indian option, and spin is something which you've seen over the years, dominance of spin bowler from India. Keeping that in mind, teams usually like to go for the options which are domestic, and then fill in those foreign slots. So you're actually competing for more slots, and you're competing against the fast bowlers, which you've seen. The demand of them has been huge in last few auctions. So I think maybe that is one of the reasons that the spin category is kind of being overlooked.
Well, just to finish this off, I mean, it seems to have been overlooked even from the England international point of view, Michael. Just as Zaheer was talking, we put up some numbers of the spin bowlers used by England since July 2019. And you'd expect to see a few more names on that list.
Yeah, I mean, the consistent with Adil Rashid, he's played pretty much every game. Moeen's played about half of the games. Matt Parkinson played a couple. You've got Dawson, bowls a bit of left-arm spin. Briggs bowls a little bit of left-arm spin, plays around the world in all the leagues. Adil Rashid is the kingpin. I think if you said, Owen Morgan would be hard to replace because he's a brilliant leader, but I think if there's one player that England couldn't replace in the white ball game, it's Adil Rashid. I just don't think they have the, Matt Parkinson's a young leg spinner from Lancashire. He's good, he's decent, but he doesn't offer at this stage what Adil Rashid can offer. So he is the kingpin of the white ball team because he bowls pretty much all the time. He's always getting valuable wickets. and his economy rate's very, very strong as well. So he's a very, very important cog in the England white ball wheel.
The other important question that we are asking, and I think it was also asked to Virat Kohli at the toss, no crowds from this point onwards till the end of the series. And the contrast, Zaheer, that you're going to feel, I mean, it's one thing to have no crowds from the start of the series, but the two teams have just played in front of 60,000 plus at the world's largest cricket stadium. Now, suddenly, halfway through the series, there's going to be an eerie silence, almost an echo. Who will be impacted most?
Well, it does add to the atmosphere, isn't it? I think, fans are integral part of sport. And, when they're missing at the ground, obviously that absence will be felt for sure. That a lot of players actually thrive on that energy. They absorb that energy. That helps them perform better on the field. Touring teams, actually, we've seen, some players can get overwhelmed with the noise at the stadium. Particularly Indian stadiums, you'll see when the crowd is, usually they're not very quiet. They like to scream, shout, so that creates that anxiety also in some of the players. But I think I think a lot of players will miss that. But safety is of priority, and that's something which authorities have carefully thought of and taken the decision. We've seen IPL also being played in without the crowds. We've seen a lot of games happen that way. There are a lot of players actually will enjoy that. Just the quietness in the stadium. Lets them focus a bit more. At times, you spend energy just kind of shutting the noise and focusing on what you want to do. So every individual is different. Every individual is going to look at it differently. But the game must go on.
Well, one thing's for sure, we know certain characters in the team. The captain, the Indian captain, he loves it. He loves the crowds. He likes to G them on, depending on which part of the country he is in. Ishan Kishan, I'm sure, was enjoying the roar of the crowd every time he hit one of those big sixes. So, Michael, you'd have to say, from this point of view, England won't mind it.
I honestly think they'll be disappointed because... they won the first game with a big crowd, lost the second game. I think the toss is more important than the crowd. And also, you're planning on a World Cup in a few months' time in India where there will be crowds, or we desperately hope there will be by the time the T20 World Cup. So you want to experience playing T20 cricket with that noise, that atmosphere, exactly the same as what we hope will be in the T20 World Cup. And I guess Owen Morgan, the one thing he'll be happy about is the fact that he'll be heard. As a captain, when the noise is out there, it's sometimes very frustrating that you can't get the attention of fine leg or third man or deep square or cover point. They're not quite watching you all the time and you're having to do all the shouting. So as a captain, it's probably a little bit easier for both Virat and Owen Morgan to get the attention of the team. But, it's been great to see the crowds in the last two games. It's really come across the TV screens of being... like sports back. When you see crowds back into sporting arenas, you feel like, the world's coming back to a better place. But it also doesn't surprise me when you've thrown in 67,000 into a ground that there's obviously been a spike in cases. Understandable why there's none there, but let's hope over the course of the next few weeks going into the IPL here in the UK, we can get some crowds in the summer. And by the time that T20 World Cup is in India in a few months' time, we've got full houses because it's such a better spectacle when the crowds are inside the grounds.
Yep, well, that's what we certainly hope. We know the IPL will start behind closed doors, perhaps the second half of the tournament. Just a quick joy factor question to get in as we see KL Rahul and Rohit Sharma stride out to bat to open the batting for India, having lost the toss. Joy factor question. If it was Robin Uthappa in 13-14, Manish Pandey in 14-15, Mandeep Singh in 15-16 and DK in 16-17, who was it in 2021? Uthappa, Manish Pandey, Mandeep Singh and Dinesh Karthik. Just got to work out that progression, figure out who it was in 2021. Give us your answer. Hashtag Ask Cricbuzz Live. You know the routine, but give us that as quickly as you possibly can. Fastest finger first, as we always know. Also, fastest finger first on the predictions, and to just change things around, I might just go first and stick in a 175 for India.
Ooh.
I'm just going to stick in 175 for India. Who's going next? Michael?
You go second.
180.
180.
I'm going to stick with my 164.
Magic number. He was spot on. Remember, folks, Michael Vaughan last
Lucky
time
number
around.
164.
Magic number 164. So we've again got a progression of the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. Where's it going to be? India would be delighted to have Zaheer Khan's total on the board because they will need it, having lost the toss. And that's what Virat Kohli mentioned with the toss. That's what they need to practice for. Cannot always win the toss. Get to bat first, put big runs on the board, and see what happens. And yes, Michael, Adil Rashid with ball in hand. It's all to play for. Fun and games. The two right-handers up against the leg spinner. Thank you to Zaheer Khan and Michael Vaughan. We'll see all of you on Cricbuzz Combox in the 10th over. And of course, we'll wrap it up in the mid-show with Cricbuzz Live. See you soon.